Hangry Andy has ripped the little plastic cover off the top of the Pringles can and just Pringles just shot everywhere.
And now what? Now you're legit angry and still hangry.
And you have a mess.
And now you got a mess
sad
to clean
too
up.
because Pringles are
Yeah.
gone.
And then you're trying to clean up the Pringles, but you're slipping in your own tears.
Butterscotch.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 84 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the game dev comedy podcast, Butterscotch Shenanigans. I'm Seth and I'm the games programmer.
I'm Sam and I make pictures.
I'm sure I'm the game mechanic.
I'm Andy and I'm the ethereal hammer slinger.
Whoa!
Yeah, so because this is episode 84, here at Coffee with Butterscotch, we have a tradition where every episode 84, we have this particular combination of people. Adam's taking the week off, and so we're filling in with Andy and Sher, and they've been in the studio now for over 6 months. So we thought we'd check in with them on the podcast.
You guys are still alive.
They're
That's
still
good.
kicking. So
Yeah, we're still kicking it.
that's good. And then, I forgot. Warning, anything can happen on this show.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be profanity and stuff. So before we get too deep into it, you should leave. Everybody listening should leave.
Just get out.
I've told you this 84 times now. And you still don't listen every
Yep.
time.
And today's January 31st, 2017. All right. What the hell happened last week, everybody? We're in dev mode. We have been crunching away on all kinds of stuff. Sam and I have been working on the farm game thing.
Yeah. So we talked about this the last couple times where the way we're developing our next game is in these sort of big chunks of actual game systems. And then we're going to pile them all back together, which I think has proven to be a good dev strategy so far.
Yeah.
And now we're on smack in the middle of the farming game. I told Seth, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do much art because I got to prep these talks for GDC.
Yeah.
So I sort of just left him to his own devices, and he's been slapping shapes together pretty nice.
I got some good placeholder art
Yeah.
in there.
Pretty nice.
And Andy's been working on a new tool for us in-house. We're calling it Dossie.
Dossie.
But
You want to talk about it, Andy?
Yeah. So it's a contact collection
Mhm.
device. So you can put in your contacts that you meet at GDC or PAX or wherever, and you can tag them and search them and contact them en masse.
yeah.
So I'm cresting the hill on that this week and should be ready to start doing testing.
Yeah. And before Andy started here, he was not a programmer.
No.
And so we'll talk about that because we got some questions about sort of what it's like to learn how to program. And then Sure is deploying his first Crashlands patch.
Right
Yeah.
now.
Like right this
It's rolling.
while we're podcasting, he's just sitting there deploying it.
Somehow.
With my mind.
So how's that been? We just dumped the whole Crashlands code base on you, and now it's somehow magically your responsibility.
Yeah, it's 3 years of work, and I'm slowly absorbing them, slowly modifying them, and yeah, putting out the patch 1.2.8 was out yesterday for Android and iOS.
Mhm.
And then it comes with just some, a little improvement like double tap warping and some upgrades for the gongs, and then some bug fixes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's been super cool. I mean, it's been cool to see you guys just picking things up and taking off with these projects. So there's a lot more interesting things to come. And also last week we had some really big changes in studio structure. So for starters, we introduced the Miley Minute,
Mm-hmm.
which
Very
is
important.
It's a great addition.
Yep. Which
What's
is
the Miley
morale.
hour, actually?
Well, it's we call it the Miley Hour because it feels like an hour.
Yeah.
But it's just one or two songs.
It's mostly like a time warp.
yeah.
Yeah.
So between 2:05 and 2:12 p.m. every day, we listen to one or two Miley Cyrus songs.
It really stretches the time out
Just-
quite a bunch.
Kick the afternoon.
Well, so, but we noticed, it was you who noticed the theme in Miley's songs, because we listened to,
So yeah, if you listen to Party in the USA,
yeah,
okay, which was in 2009,
Okay.
and then you listen to We Can't Stop, which was in 2013, it's a really sad tale of this woman who goes to LA and is
sort of like all bright-eyed,
bright,
bushy-tailed.
all innocent and naive, and she's just like, "Oh, I see the Hollywood sign. It's so great, Ooh, like, am I wearing the right shoes? Derp, 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 And but of course, the song is really about partying, right?
Yeah.
Like, Party in the USA is like, I just got to LA. I'm hearing my favorite song.
Let's kick
I'm
it.
gonna start partying,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And then 2013, We Can't Stop.
Okay, literally,
She has been partying for 4 years.
and she sounds a little tired.
She sounds exhausted.
You know?
her lyrics have gone from like actually singing to just being like, "Wah!" Like she's just kind of moaning.
She just talks about doing Molly,
about
constantly.
doing coke in the bathroom.
Yeah. It's a cry for help.
Yeah.
It really is.
Somebody needs to send her help.
It was just really quick. It's 4 years to go
4
from
years.
like
She's been partying for 4 years, and
You
that was
see the effects
and that
of
was
it.
4 years ago.
yeah.
She's really aged. You can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happened to her, but I'm worried.
Well, it's weird because we went into the Miley hour just for our own purposes in terms of giving us a little bit of slow mo during the day.
Yeah.
And then I think that realization sort of started sweeping over everybody. Like, wait,
this is a person
there's
who's
a
in
narrative
trouble.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's calling for help.
I don't know what her next album is going to be, but it's going to be dark.
It might just be, a chorus of layered screams.
It's probably going to be sort of like, screams and then sort of like Gregorian chanting, and just Miley sort of moaning in agony.
Is this what LA does? I've never been. I don't know.
I've been there.
Our thoughts are with
It's
you,
rough.
LA.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Our thoughts are with you.
So that happened. Also, we started exercising 7 o'clock in the morning as a whole group.
It's been pretty good.
It's been good. So last Wednesday or Tuesday or something,
Tuesday, yeah.
we were just like, you know what? We need to work on our health.
Well, so this came about because we do our weekly reflection things, right? And we used to go to the gym like maybe 30% of the time after work.
Oh, less than that.
Okay, less than that. Sometimes as
Like
a group,
once a week,
sometimes
basically.
like one person.
Yeah.
And then I think Sher was just like, guys, we should exercise again. And
We're sedentary. We just sit in our chairs and code and don't move at all.
yeah, and so we were like, well, we started going after work. Actually, I think it was the first couple of days after work, and then of course, we had a bunch of stuff happening after work, and so we're like, well, if we're gonna do this, we should just go at 7 a.m. Let's just wake up. We'll meet at the office, and then caravan over and caravan back. And I think it's been pretty good. What do you guys?
Yeah.
What do you guys feel on it?
I agree. I'm just full of energy, just bouncing.
Yeah.
Yep, it's good. Well, and also doing the workout before work means you can't get away from it, right?
Yeah.
Because like if you're at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I'll go after work. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm in the middle of this project. I got all these things going on. I got to cook dinner later.
You're always
And
like
then-
time pinched, Because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, if I want to stay and work on this project for 20 minutes, then it's just not the case that I'm going to be able to like make it home through traffic and time to get home for dinner as I planned, etc. You're like, I could work out for 12 minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
No,
No.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Yeah. So plan it out, do it before work, boom. You're good to go for the day. And you got infinite time in the evenings as well. So
Yeah.
it's been good.
And we talked about this before, is like, you kind of get this productivity energy rolling, like this snowball rolling since the morning, because you have done this really hard thing. You feel all, your muscle feels a little bit sore, but you feel jacked. Like Seven, I was talking about this yesterday. We're like, yeah, now when we type on the keyboard, we feel like we're going to crush the keyboard.
Yeah. Your hands feel like they're just giant meatballs. It's amazing.
Feel the power.
Well, I was reading some stuff on meditation because I used to do it when I meditated. I would do it after like the whole day. It's like usually like 4 or 5 p.m. or something like that. And for some reason, I always thought like that was the time to do it because you need a moment to recharge, whatever else. And then I read something someone said where they were talking about they do it basically first thing when they wake up. And I was like, that seems like a waste. Like your brain's kind of this garbled, empty mess anyways. I don't know why you need to meditate.
Maybe
like
that's
first
probably
thing.
why you need to meditate.
Well, so what they said was that the reason you do it is because it's essentially practice for the rest of the day, right? Where it's like you're practicing on just bringing your attention back. Like that's how you're starting your day is with this little piece of practice in terms of focus and stuff.
Well, so that's what I've been doing actually, or something like it, where for the past couple of days now. So we've been getting up, we've been doing our 7 a.m. workout, and I thought, what if I just got up even earlier and spent some time just sort of getting my mental space, sort of exercising my brain before I exercise my body, right? So I just get up. I've been getting up at about 6 or like 5:45. And then I just spend about a half an hour or 45 minutes just like writing in my notebook, just planning out all the stuff that I want to make sure I focus on for the day and that I think about. And it's very helpful.
Next we should start getting up at just like 2 a.m., and just get the whole day in before the day starts.
Yeah.
And just do everything.
Yeah.
Suggesting we become crepuscular.
I feel
You
like
should just do everything first before anything.
Yeah.
And then
It
you're
seems
done.
Seems like the slippery slope situation. You know?
Yeah.
We're gonna slip into nocturnal humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
It'll work.
Who needs the sun?
It'll work. I
We
mean,
don't see it anyway.
We haven't seen
We
it.
don't
It's just been clouds and gray and dark. Yeah. And also yesterday we had a big, so Sam's been reading a lot about marketing because he's sort of our marketing strategist, I believe is the term.
Yeah, though I think that's a very dubious label now after looking back on all of our marketing failures.
We've been operating with limited information.
Yeah.
So Sam's been reading all about marketing, and we've run into sort of this question about what to call our next game, which we are still. The game is still in the works, and it's solidifying, and so we don't quite know exactly what we should call it, but we are now thinking about the approach that we should take when we're figuring out what to call it. So what kind of things do we need to be taking into
This is
account?
the interesting thing. So there's this concept of positioning in marketing, which basically just says that you don't ever want to compete with other products that are on the market. And so what you do is you position your product in such a way that it essentially exists in its own category, or if it's not necessarily its own category, that you keep in mind the other people that are in that category who are there first, because they're always going to be ahead of you. It's basically what the rule is whoever gets in the mind first wins.
Hey Sam, should I make a MOBA?
No, unless you call it something else, right? So that's the point. Because the idea is that there's just a power function as you go down in this sort of categorical selection. Like if someone says, "Oh, I want to play a hack and slash RPG," what do you think of?
Diablo.
Right. What's the second one? Maybe Torchlight.
Yeah, which is very much like Diablo.
And then what's the third one?
You don't know.
I
I don't know. So
Except there's a shitload of them.
But this is the point: is that it's a power function as you go down. So the first one that everybody remembers is usually the first one that was basically a large success that sort of implanted itself in the mind, almost as like the category definer, right? And then as you step in,
Hey, I want to play an open world crafting game.
yeah, Minecraft is the first one, yeah, and then Terraria, and then probably Don't Starve or Starbound, one of those.
Yep.
And Crashlands is somewhere like number 92.
3012.
So there's a bunch of stuff going on. So the point is with a name that you want to choose a name that really effectively either builds or puts your game into a position where it is understood as to what it does and also how it relates to the rest of the market or doesn't, right? And so I was just looking at, I read this book and then I was just thinking about all the stuff and all of our approaches with Crashlands and just realized that,
Well, all of our games, basically.
I mean, all of our games actually, just across the board, we suck at this. and I mean, that's an uncomfortable realization, but I think the one time I remember that it was really easy to sell one of our games was Talfight. And it wasn't because of the name though, because the name is garbage, right? It's Talfight 2, the Monocle of Destiny. No one knows what's happening, but
Yeah.
it also doesn't say anything about what even the game is or what it feels like, etc. In fact, a lot of people asked us if it was like a towel whipping game, where you just like whip each other with towels
Yeah,
while wearing monocles.
the big question we get is like, oh, so it's like Mortal Kombat, but like with like snapping towels.
Which
at
would
each
be
other.
amazing. but that's not what it is.
No.
But that was one of the easiest ones to sell because of our tagline, which was shoot animals out of your face, right? We just grabbed something from that gaming world and that universe, which happens to be the sort of primary mechanic of the game. And that's what we use to sort of lodge it into a lot of critics' minds and stuff. And that was one of the easiest ones to sort of just pitch and things.
It got a lot of coverage, actually.
did.
It didn't get featured because nobody cared, but
Yeah. But it did get a lot of media coverage.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting when we were coming up on Crashlands because we had a hell of a time internally figuring out how to talk about it. And now, like, if you look back at the trailer, while we get a bunch of kudos on the trailer, I still think it's good. The trailer is basically a feature list. And the reason is because we couldn't figure out, like, when you have a game that's like 60 hours of content, there's fishing in it, there's some pet training, there's a bunch of crafting, there's a huge world, there's stories. It's really hard to think from the mind of the player and boil it down into something that would make them be like, oh yeah, that's like that one thing is what I'm interested in. And that's worthy of me exploring this further. And that's really what the marketing is supposed to do.
yeah, I mean, what we should have done is look at games like maybe Skyrim, right? So if you look at a trailer for this game, they're not going, hey, let's talk about all the different things you can do in Skyrim.
You can eat 700 wheels of cheese.
You can eat
in a
wheels of
minute.
cheese. You can cast fireballs. You can charm a wolf. You can fight a giant.
Yeah.
Like that wouldn't have stuck. So really, I think we need to for our next game, we need to think about how we talk about it and how we come up with the name. And we also got a question from Newton's Nutella. These questions come from podcast.bscotch.net, by the way. Newton's Nutella asks, getting your game noticed nowadays is a big issue. Can you guys go into some of the details involved with marketing your game? Forums you post on, websites or blogs you contact about your game? Is in-app advertising or sponsoring YouTubers worth the money?
Oh.
So naming is important.
Yeah, so picking a name that is clear and that actually takes some of the work off of you with all the rest of your marketing language to position the product effectively is really important. The example we've been using internally is actually Don't Starve, because to me that one positions itself beautifully as like that's the whole point of the game. It's catchy,
going to be harsh,
and it feels like you're going to die. I mean, that's just kind of, it's got a dark tone to it for sure. But in the case of just the general strategy for marketing your game, you know, we build and maintain a huge press list. And the way you do, there's a bunch of articles. There's one on Gama Sutra recently about a few different tools you can use to do this. And you basically just build this huge press list where it's all the people from various publications and stuff that have written about games that are similar to yours in the past. And I think this is a huge step that most people don't necessarily do. So if you want to get into IGN, for example, or PC Gamer or something like that, don't just go through their like contact form. Take the 5 minutes or whatever to look up a game that you think is similar to yours. So for example, with Telefight, it's kind of like Binding of Isaac, right? It's heavily inspired by it. What would have been a good approach at that point in time, which we didn't know how to do yet, which is why we hired a PR firm. But what would have been a good approach would be to look at all of the reviewers who wrote, all the journalists themselves, not just the sites, but the journalists themselves who wrote about Binding of Isaac and enjoyed it, and then find their email addresses, build that list that way, and then use a tool called Mail Merge, which I think is like $30 for a year through Gmail, which lets you just send tons of emails individually from a list. So you get Mail Merge, and then you just fire off an email to these people that's short, sweet, has like a GIF or some sort of just
your email to them is a product.
It is, yeah.
Right. And so you need to think about their experience. Like when the press person receives your pitch about your game, they receive your information. You need to think about what do they need? What do they need to know? What's going to be a good experience for them? Because you don't want it to be the case that you go, hey, I have this great game. If you want a key, send me an email and I'll get you one.
Yeah, you'll never get an email.
You'll never get a response, right? So you need to think about all the things that they need to put a key in the email, easily accessible, links to trailers, anything that they can just easily get to, just like that. So
yeah. So I mean, that's the sort of big punch with it. And the biggest thing is just to keep in mind the people that you're sending the emails to. And I think it's one thing people just fail to do across the board. And like I said, you make it literally as easy as possible for them to get the game, play it, and put pictures up of it. If that means literally providing them the game and pictures of it so they don't have to go take screenshots.
Link to an Imgur album that has all the screenshots in it so they can just embed them, in their post or whatever.
Make
or
it easy
download
for people because they get buffeted by stuff. And also the plight or the sort of general ploy of like, oh, I'm an indie dev, like it's my first game, or period, I'm an indie dev. Nobody cares anymore because
everybody's an indie dev.
Yeah, we're down.
You're not going to be able to sell your game off of sympathy points.
Yeah. So save your breath in that regard, and just focus on whatever it is that the game does differently, again, from the rest of the market, or even games that are close to it.
There's also an interesting question, which is some reviewers show a heavy amount of bias toward particular genres or particular platforms, right? Mm-hmm. And so you may be concerned about like who should I send my game to? If it's the case that there's a particular reviewer, say at some major site, who just for whatever reason just absolutely hates crafting, and like every review they've made of a crafting game is just bad, then don't send it to that person because they're not actually evaluating the game just purely on its merits. What they're like, they have a particular thing that they like and a particular thing that they don't like, and it's just not going to be the case that you're going to get a direct sort of like accurate portrayal of what your game is.
Well, I think it's also is defining your audience before you pitch to them is very important, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's like dating or trying to make friends or anything. It's like you need to choose the people ahead of time who you're going after, and then shift whatever. Like if you wanted to go hang out with someone who likes playing video games, you wouldn't be like, hey, bro, let's go lift some weights and watch some basketball afterwards. And
they're just like, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
What do you?
And the thing is, though, if you do this on accident, it can be really disheartening. But I think you got to understand why. Because if you mismatch your audience with your message, they're not going to like it. Period.
And doesn't mean you made a bad thing.
Yeah.
It means you showed it to the wrong person.
Yeah. And I think one of the funniest examples of this was the Destructoid article we got about Crashlands, where that was one of the ones where we never got a person.
We never got a review we got a preview, and they hated Crashlands so much.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like
that they said, I can't bring myself to play this long enough to write a review.
Yeah,
right.
It was incredible.
So, yeah,
and that was one of those ones where we didn't have a person there, and frankly, I didn't do the work to like dig up a particular person who I knew liked crafting games.
So just somebody.
It was just some random person got this across their desk, and they're like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, and you know we
incredible.
we talked in the past about how with our trailer for Crashlands and all of our marketing materials and stuff are very whimsical and over the top, and we crack a lot of jokes and stuff. And if you look at the comments on our trailer, it's probably like 3/4 people being like, "Yeah, this is great," and then 1/4 people are like, "I hate everything about this." Right?
Well, I want to talk about that though, because one of the things the marketing book talks about is that you cannot be successful without making enemies.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
You pick your position. You be honest and upfront about the thing that you're making, and recognize that some people are gonna just hate it so much that they can barely see straight, and that's fine because
it means
it's
you did
not
a good
for
job.
them.
Yeah,
yeah. You picked your crowd.
Hate.
Haters, they just gonna hate. All right, so let's get on. Oh yeah,
Sorry, I was gonna add because the question also asked, what about like sponsoring YouTubers to do it?
Oh yeah,
I want to share experience. So I watched this Twitch streamer Voyboy, who basically frequently does, mainly does League of Legends streaming. And I remember there was one time I was watching him, then he was playing this new MOBA that was coming out. And then he made it very straightforward. He was like, okay, I'm getting sponsored by this guy. So, I'm just going to stream this for an hour. And, you guys can just, explore this game with me. And then that game itself, I think, it just comes short in many aspects compared to League of Legends. So you can see the streamer as he was playing it, and he kind of got into this really awkward situation where he is, he clearly doesn't really enjoy it, or like
but he's being paid to.
He's being paid to, yeah. So you will see that some of the animation is really bad, and he is like he will have this awkward face. He's like he wanted to say something, but then he doesn't say it, and he would just point to something else that's more positive, and then that thing also fails. And then
wow, look at the textures on this bush.
But again, like if you're a YouTuber and you're sponsoring or you're being paid to show a video, that's a totally legitimate thing. But on the developer side, don't send a bad game to a YouTuber and sponsor it, right? Like make sure that it's a really high quality thing, and also make sure that. So, for example, if somebody is famous for specifically playing League of Legends, don't have that person play your game, because their fans are there to watch that person play League of Legends, right? And you're going to end up leaving a bad taste in people's mouths. So if you have a YouTuber who like their whole thing is they're like, oh yeah, I just play like every crafting game or whatever. I just play the shit out of, I just love all these different crafting games. And that's what their audience is there for. And you have a crafting game, then it totally matches, right? So if your game is good and it fits with the audience of who that person is, and you just want to get some more exposure for it, I think it's fair, but you also can't coerce that person into enjoying it, right? Like it's a gamble, make your game good and give it to them and just say, I would just, I'll pay you to show the game, but I can't dictate how you feel about it. Right. Mm-hmm. So
or you shouldn't anyway.
You shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And if as a YouTuber, if you agree to be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to pretend to love the shit out of this, then you've kind of walked into that one. So
yeah, I don't know.
It's
I think
tricky.
It's a hard line to walk, I think, for content creators. Right. And I've talked to a few of them before where they talk about any dealings they've had with sponsored content, which run along these lines where they're like, because it suddenly makes it more of a job, I guess. And it's great because they get paid, but
they have a client.
Yeah,
it's different than having a relationship between them and the audience, where they get the ad revenue. The audience is there just for that, so
it kind of reminds me how like there's just so much product placement in music videos now. Like every time you turn around, Nicki Minaj is like rubbing some EOS lip balm on her face. She's like, wow, look at this label.
How do you think they pay for all those music videos?
Yeah, well, it's so
There's
interesting
always a Beats pill thing.
Every
it's
time.
just like a crappy little stereo.
I mean, the weird thing is about it, and I think so. There's been some interesting psych research on this stuff with regard to sponsored news content, which is that even when it says sponsored on it, when it's presented in the same format as the other stories in a journal news article and stuff, people don't sort of put it in a different category as a different kind of news or like paid for news, So even if it's the case I guess my point is that this stuff has to be very effective. I could guarantee it's very effective to get one of these people to play one of your games, because I think the reality is that most people are there to watch, of course, like Markiplier or whoever. play the game. But I think the reality is they're not, even if you say like multiple times during the video, or if you have it in the title or whatever else, like this is an ad, like I was sponsored to do this, that doesn't necessarily discount the value of the people watching it for you, if that makes sense. It doesn't necessarily put it into a different category. So there's a lot of really slippery stuff that's been happening now with.
Yeah, I guess it can be very psychologically manipulative.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
There's actually a whole season of South Park about this.
Oh,
Yeah.
is there?
About
It's like-
sponsored content. And
But I think it's
ads.
actually like there are people who you don't know whether they are ads or not. And it's like they're trying to discover like who's an ad and who's a real person.
How do they discover this? What's the process?
interrogation
Okay.
Yeah.
and torture.
It's the only way.
Yeah.
South Park, yeah.
That's the best way.
All right, so let's hit some questions. These questions come
Oh, wait.
from
Before we do that,
what?
I wanted to bring up. So we had our discussion last week about how if you could choose your name as a kid, what would your name have been?
Yeah.
Right? And we realized that your screen name is actually just
It's that. Yeah.
So Diana and I were laughing about this. I told her about my wife about this, and then I was like, "What was your like email address back in the day?" And it was Red Hot Devil 93 X. And I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, Diana. I was like, "How thirsty of a child were you? Like what?" And then she was like, "No. This is the funniest
Was
shit."
it like she liked the Red Hot candies or?
Well, so their swim team was the Red Devils.
Okay.
Before swim meets, they would like write words on each other, like to make each other go fast, right? Sort of like war paint.
Okay.
And so they'd write like speedy or like hot or whatever else, meaning like fast and full of energy. And then the year she was born is 93, right?
Uh-huh.
But of course, looks like somehow some sort of sexual number going on there. And then the X, there's like an X and an O after it too, but it was her middle name starts with an X. Or yeah, her middle name starts with an X. And
So it's just
she
all
says
these totally innocuous
yeah.
things.
And then I was like, are you fucking kidding me? This is incredible. You just pile all these things together.
Red Hot
They're innocent.
Devil.
And suddenly you look just like the thirstiest 13-year-old ever seen on the planet. Like, so I've just been referring to her as that whenever she says them now.
That's
Whatever, Red Hot Devil 93.
This is why we don't name. This is why we don't name ourselves as teenagers.
Imagine getting stuck with that where you're like, I didn't know. I didn't know.
Yep. It's not good. It's not good. All right, now we're going to for real get to questions.
All right, do
These
it.
questions come from podcast.bscotch.net. You can ask with your Bscotch ID.
Yeah.
And if you do, and we answer one of your questions, you will get a sweet avatar of a cup of coffee.
Mhm.
It's actually not super sweet.
It's bitter.
But it's
not
about
really-
to be sweet
it's
because there's
coffee.
a butterscotch heading
There's
into
a
that
butterscotch
coffee.
going
Ooh,
into
yeah.
it, but it's not in there yet. So it's kind of
time delay.
it's questionable.
Yeah.
All right. So first question comes from Ulfbane.
It's a good good
Ulfbane says, in a past episode, at least one of you mentioned having a mentor.
Ooh.
How did you find your mentor? Do you currently have mentees?
Mm.
So Sam, this is probably you.
I've talked about having
Yeah.
a mentor. Yeah. So I found my mentor in college. And the reason was, and I think the important thing is if you're the sort of person who just like pays attention and is very respectful to people when they're teaching you stuff, then people will want to mentor you. People always ask this question like, how do I get a mentor? It's like,
Just give a shit.
give a shit. People detect that you're giving a
when
shit.
people are trying to help you, give a shit.
Yeah. So this is my junior year in college, and the professor was actually he's not like a academic, but actually worked in the Center for Empirical Research in the Law, which basically just meant that they built sweet SQL-based websites for the law school. And his whole class was just on the idea of presentation, and we used all sorts of tech in the class and built cool stuff. And that was sort of my gateway into programming. But the thing he said was that there were like 14 or 15 people in the class, and we all got along very well. And there are other great students in there he liked a lot. But he said there was computers, like a bank of computers, right, that you sat at while he was giving the lecture. And he said, you're the only person. He's like, you sat completely straight up, like perfect posture, and you
And
just
listened?
paid attention to what I was doing every day. And then oftentimes after class, I'd come up and be like, so what about this thing? And I wasn't.
Everybody else was just like staring at their screens like zombies.
Yeah, and I was,
Yeah.
or they'd like be fucking around Facebook, whatever else. And I wasn't angling to get a mentor. And I think that's the interesting thing
You
about
just
it.
gave a shit.
Yeah. If you just give a lot of shits, then eventually someone will be like, I'm going to,
It's actually worth my time
Yeah.
to help this person.
because that's the biggest risk, right? As a mentor-mentee relationship is that you're going to be, as a mentor, giving a bunch of time and energy into someone who just doesn't give a fuck at the end of the day. So that's why I think a lot of the programs that pair up or that theoretically pair up mentors and mentees, right? By like matching them or whatever else. Most of them don't stick.
Yeah.
It's just like a largely known fact that like, yes, you can get a mentor in a technical capacity. Like you have one that you were given, but earning one is a completely different thing. And like, I'm still very good friends with this guy and we get coffee once every 3 or 4 weeks. He's got his own business now, doing his own cool stuff. And he's been it's been interesting over the last couple of years because as I went through the cancer stuff, he was there and helped me through some of that stuff. And then now that he started his own business a couple of years after I started my own business, and granted, he's older than I am by a good degree. He's been working in the field quite a bit. We've had plenty of interesting new stuff to talk about that actually is not just in his domain, right? And so the sort of power relationship there it still swings around. If I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, then he flips into mentor mode. But otherwise, if he's like, what do you think about this business thing I'm doing?
So you kind of more on equal footing now.
Slowly become a little bit more peers in certain
The
categories.
student becomes the teacher.
Yeah,
And
or
then
at
if
least
it's in Star Wars, then you have to cut him in half with a lightsaber.
I'm coming for Troy.
that's unfortunate, but
But
that's
yeah,
just the way it goes.
But that's been one of that's the guy who got me into programming because that summer after I had that class, we were like the last day of class, we walked down the hall together and he was like, do you want a job? And I was like, what? Yeah. And he was like, I'll pay you to build websites for the university. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. And he's like, it's fine.
You figure it out.
You'll figure it out. And then I did. So,
Nice.
so that was that. So like, that was literally my entrance into programming and everything else was through this guy. So yeah, that's been one of like the foundational relationships of my adulthood and of my becoming an adult in a lot of capacities, handling all my shit effectively, etc. So I think, as far as the question of like, how do you go about finding one? Just demonstrate that you give a shit wherever you're at.
Yeah.
People will.
There's a lot of people in the world who have a lot of valuable and interesting things to share, but they may be reserved about it because they're so accustomed to people just not giving a crap when they try to help them. And so you just have to demonstrate that you're willing to listen and you're willing to actually engage and ask questions and do the things that they talk about. And
have you guys had any?
Yeah, I would like to add something too. I think I didn't do this myself, but I heard this from another podcast. But then they basically talk about this idea is like, okay, so if you actually have a targeted person that you want him or her to be your mentor, how do you actually approach that person? So Sam's situation is more serendipity, right? You're kind of like you didn't ask for it and then come to you. Mm-hmm. Let's say if you actually have somebody that is specifically you want to be mentored from. How do you get to that? So I think demonstrating, that you give a shit is very important. Mm-hmm. And also another thing is that you probably want to demonstrate you have the potential to. If you demonstrate that will make it even easier. And then the question comes to how do you demonstrate you have the potential? So what that podcast has suggested is actually comes from Art of Charm, which is a podcast that I listen to. And then, so the credit is there.
Art of Charm.
Yeah. So they talk about, like you can approach this person. So you learn what this person's business is about or what he is aspired to do and what kind of challenge he's facing. And you try to help him solve his problems or try to provide, try to basically see what their problem is and see what you can do about it and try to offer your help or solutions to that person. And if your solution is good or, the things that you can do really adds value to them, then suddenly, they see, oh, this is a person that, gives a shit about what I do and actually puts in the time and effort to study it and then actually come up with solutions for it. Mm-hmm. Then you have demonstrated all these things. And then, that's a really good openers to kind of approach this person. And then, so I think, give a shit. And then also, if you can demonstrate your potentials, that probably makes your profile even greater.
Yep, exactly.
I had several mentors in college because I was doing 2 different programs. I was in geography where I had Dr. Morgan and Dr. Scalis, and in computer science I had Dr. Thornton as a mentor, and I just got them pretty much the same way Sam said.
Just give it a shit.
Yeah, just give it a shit. Going up, asking like, questions after class.
Hey, somebody cares about the thing I'm talking about.
Yeah, hey, I've got this cool project. Do you want to get in on it? Like, shoot, yeah, we're gonna get on it. Right. And next thing you know, I got 3 mentors. So that's, it's really not much to it. You just gotta give a shit.
I will say, one of the things that we've encountered pretty frequently actually is people who are maybe like 15, 16, whatever, they're kind of like in their mid-teens and their mothers will contact us
Oh yeah.
and say, hey, my son is really into gaming and he's interested in, in what you guys are doing. Would you be willing to meet and talk about it? And the first couple of times this happened, we were like, sure. And we did it. And it's usually the case that it's actually the son is just playing video games all the time. And the mother is like, I need to figure out how to channel this person into being a productive member of society. And it has so far never been the case that has turned into sort of like a mentor-mentee relationship. So I think you cannot have somebody create a mentor-mentee relationship on your behalf.
Right.
Like it's something that you have to do. You have to put yourself out there and try to reach out to people yourself and meet with them yourself. Because otherwise it's just not gonna stick.
Yeah. Well, I think something that everyone's kind of alluded to here is that is one of demonstrating value in a lot of ways, because so we get plenty of asks for like, oh, could I just come in and shadow for a day or something from tons of people who wanted to come in and just see what the work culture is like and sort of get an idea what the industry's like. Or they say, I could just come in for like one day a week and work with you guys or something like that.
And we've done this stuff.
We have tried it before. And the really interesting thing about it is that it sort of, it comes from a place where it lacks an understanding of what that means for us, because the reality is, so for example, with you guys, like Sure and Andy, if I were to say, hey, we're going to bring in someone, I'm going to need you to like teach them how to do web stuff or program. So I need you to have them help you with the next patch. That's an incredible amount of overhead now that I've actually just put on your plate. And the reality is, so in other words, the reality is it's not costless for us. So a lot of people come to us with what appears to be a value proposition.
Can I just be a fly on the wall? Or?
Yeah, but the value proposition is 100% in their court. Whereas I think your point is that with the mentor-mentee relationship is that you got to demonstrate that you give a shit and then that you can provide some value on the back end, right? And not in such a way that it should offset the cost of literally of teaching you something. And I think that's the hard one, that the whole idea of just
because it is a cost.
It is a cost.
You have to spend time to teach you stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's the hard one. I think most people just don't get about this idea, like matching up with a mentor, is you really have to demonstrate that you simultaneously give a shit, that you can add some value, that you have the potential to add a huge amount of value down the line. And I think once all three of those things are kind of in place, then you have a really good chance of actually attracting someone's attention to do that. As far as like just getting matched, I don't know of anybody who's been matched with a mentor where that's actually stuck in a long term. Honestly, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I'm sure there are, but I can't think.
I mean, I guess it'd have to be the case that the person looking for the match gave a shit about getting a mentor, regardless of what that mentorship was.
Right.
Maybe. It's hard to say.
Who knows?
Yeah. All right. So next question comes from Elsieth. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Elsieth. If there was one thing that each of you would like for us, your buttery fandom, to learn or take away from your experiences, what would they be and why? This is very open-ended.
That is big.
So if there's a nugget that you could just bestow upon the people, that is like the best nugget you have, wisdom nugget, Wiznug. What do you got from your experiences, life experience working at the Butterscotch studio?
So I will. So the weird thing about it is that so cliches feel super empty until you've gone through an experience that suddenly makes you understand the cliche, right?
Yeah.
So for example, people
it's cliche
like,
because everybody says it.
Yeah, people are like, you only live once. Not many people have experienced that reality, right?
Yeah.
So it's weird for this advice because I think the reality is it's not going to stick. No matter what I tell you right now, it's just not going to work until you run into something. And I think like the most important thing for people to understand is just that there's nobody in your way as much as yourself is in your way. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
You are the barrier to your own success 99% of the time. So get over yourself and go be terrible at things, and then you'll do better eventually.
Because the first step toward being good at something is sucking at something.
Yeah. It's an adventure type
adventure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my experience has been, it's similar. It's on the same lines, but it's basically, it's the idea of be deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
So don't do something just because you feel like it, and don't do something just because it's what you just do. Right. So I often harp on TV watching as kind of being like the de facto thing that people just kind of do because it's easy to do. It's passive. You don't learn anything from it. It's cheap and it's addictive, right? Mm-hmm. So people they kind of build their lives around, they get home from work and they just that's just what they do. They just do it. They don't think about it. They don't make a decision. Like on the way home, they go, what am I going to do tonight? Here are my options. Let me think through all the things I could do. No, I'm going to watch TV. That's going to be my thing, right?
Yeah, if you chose to watch TV every night, sure.
If you're making a deliberate decision and you're like, this is the thing that's going to like make my life better. Is if I spent 6 hours every night watching TV and you just do that, then more power to you because you've got a plan. You're pursuing your dream,
just chasing your bliss.
Yeah, but it is usually the case that, and it's difficult to avoid because our brains are pattern recognizing and pattern reinforcing mechanisms, and so the more you do something, the harder it is to stop doing that thing. And so you need to make a concerted effort to regularly sort of hit the reset button and sit down and take the time to think about what are my values in life? What am I trying to accomplish? Where am I trying to go? And am I actually doing the things that I should be doing? And if not, how should I be spending my time? And just sort of rebuild your life to fit that. If you don't think you should be watching TV, get rid of your TV.
Yeah.
What's it there for?
Back to the mentor thing, that particular lesson of just being deliberate and thoughtful is basically the one that was taught in that entire course and then has been reinforced by this mentor of mine just repeatedly. He just always asks questions.
Think about stuff.
Yeah. Think about it.
And then do it after you think about it.
Choose to do things.
Yeah. I guess my wisdom nugget would be, as sort of a cliche, I guess, but I learned this in cross country, and it's just when things are the hardest, that's when you need to push even harder.
Yeah. Kick it in at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
As they say in swimming.
Or is it, if you're going through hell, keep on going? Isn't that a good country
The devil
song?
might not even know you're there.
In which case,
the red hot devil 93 may not know.
That's interesting. Yeah.
All right. So my nugget is actually, who you hang out with also defines who you are too, in a very powerful way. So yes, you can. I think individually, you can try really hard to do something and try to change your life and stuff. But you can make it even easier or more effective by hanging out with people who share the same values or share the same goals with you. And then, because like that's the thing I felt like, when I was when I first started in the studio, I felt like, it was a really life-changing moment for me because a lot of things that I wanted to do, they're hard. But then, when you see other people around you who are also doing it, you get this energy osmosis from them. You get inspired from them, and you can do it with them. And then I'm very proud to say, like when we are doing the morning workout and stuff, it's not easy. Like a lot of the days, in the morning, you just want to sleep a few more minutes or just not come. But then I thought about it and I was like, okay, other people are counting on me. I can't let them down.
We need spotters.
Yeah.
We're going to drop weights on our faces.
Right. Yeah. If I'm not there, what if they drop weight on their faces? I can't let that.
I can't let that happen after that.
Right. So yeah. So I think social support is actually really important. Especially in this day of age where it's all about a self-sustainment. Just being independent. But
there is no independent person,
right? Yeah. Humans, we are social animals. Like we are social animals. Like we build on each other too. So find people who share your values, and you guys can strive your goals together. Which a lot of times is much better experience. And also, if you find your current friends or the people you hang out with, if they're not sharing your values, or if they're not, conductive to you achieving your goals, maybe you should start thinking about hanging out with new people.
Yeah, be deliberate about it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're just like how if you want to lose weight, but you keep a bunch of junk food in your house, you're going to have problems, right? And if you want to do thing A, but your friends always try to get you to do thing B, it's the same exact situation, right? They're a feature of your life, and you got to rethink everything sometimes. So
I will say that if I was just trying to go to the gym at 7 a.m. by myself, shit would not be happening.
Oh no, I would have slept in this morning.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I was like, oh, they're gonna hate me.
You
if I
guys don't even
go.
know. This has been my plan for like a year. Every day I'm like, maybe I should go to the gym early. And then the next morning I'm like, nah.
Well,
That's not
because you
happening.
make the decision at 6:45 when you wake up to like have to go to get in the car and stuff. You're like,
Yeah. If the night before you talk to several other people and you're like, hey, are you going to be there? You going to be there? Everybody going to be there? And everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to be there. And then you wake up, the decision is made.
you get back down.
6:45 a.m. You.
That happened this morning.
Does not
'Cause
have
I
any
woke up,
say in it.
Yeah, I woke up and I was like, fuck. And I looked at the clock and I was like, I could sleep. And then I was like,
Yeah, we're like leaving last night. You were like, Andrew, you gonna be at the gym? And I was like, maybe.
Yeah, I remember.
I didn't want to make the decision because I was so tired. But
got commit.
But
so
it's-
the answer today is gonna be yes.
Well, this is actually an interesting problem too, because a while back, my wife and I were exercising in the morning. But if you wake up with that person in the same bed,
Oh, yeah. Then you decided.
and you turn over, and you're like, "Do you want to go?"
They're like,
to the
"Fuck
gym?"
that.
And you're like, "No, I don't want to fucking go to the gym." And you're like, me neither. And then you both go back to
yeah,
sleep.
you need distance.
Back
You
to the
can't-
cuddle puddle.
You need to
Yeah.
meet somebody at the gym. So that 6:40 or 6 o'clock a.m. you and them are not together making decisions at the same time, because that's not a good decision
point.
maker.
Yeah, that's interesting.
All right, so next question, also an interesting one. We got a lot of life questions this
Okay.
time. It's from Woland77.
Whoa!
Woland77 says, is work-life balance a dumb lie? They capitalize dumb and lie. If it is a dumb lie, what's a better lie?
I like this person.
All right, so work-life balance. What is work-life?
Well, let's talk about narratives real quick, because this is really what the question's about.
Okay.
So this is the idea of lying to yourself, right?
Yeah.
So the reality is that everybody constructs their own narrative, okay, about who they are in their life, what their life has been like, what that has done to them, and the really weird thing about it is that if you're in a bad mood, for example, it's going to be easier for your brain to actually pull up all the shitty things that have happened to you in the past than it is the positive things. In other words, your current mood sort of influences your access to the stories of your past. Okay. Now, the thing is, with someone who constructs their own narrative, and this goes back to Seth's point about being deliberate about this stuff, it's important to understand that this is something that is constructed. Whether or not you did it on purpose is a whole nother question, and the answer is probably you didn't. But the sort of general story you've told about yourself, if you're like, oh, I'm like a flaky person, or oh, I just always suck at X, Y, or Z. This is a narrative that you've told yourself that then sort of spins into future behaviors as well as how you think about your past.
Sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy
It is.
problem.
It's a reinforcing problem. So I just really like this question because of the fact that the reality is that you get to bend your reality according to your mindset.
Decide.
You get to decide which.
choose your adventure.
I wouldn't call it a lie. I'd say just the question of which truth you want to live in, really.
So
because
there's
this is what it is to you, right?
Yeah, there's a book that I'm currently reading called, I think it's called Designing Your Life or something like that. And it's basically taking the principles of sort of creative design, oftentimes for, product design or whatever, and taking those same approaches and applying them to rethinking the way that you do the things that you do just throughout your life. And one of the big points they make is reframing problems.
Mhm.
Like that's one of a designer's best tools is when somebody says, we're trying to do this, but we're having a hard time with it. Then as a designer, you can come in and say, what if we tried this? Or what if we thought about it from this angle, right? And just completely changing it. And so some things that you think are problems are actually not problems at all because you're just coming at them from a really shitty direction, right? And so he talks about gravity problems. They call them gravity problems, which is, I love the term. And it's the idea of, so I'm trying to bike up this hill, but I feel so heavy and it keeps like pulling me down the hill. What do I do about it? Which you can't do anything about it, right? That's just a fact of your circumstances, right? And so you're focusing on this weird environmental factor that you literally have no control over and acting as if this is the thing that you should be concerned about, right?
It's like being upset about the weather in some regards.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. No matter who you are or where you are in life, there's going to be a huge number of things going on around you that you have no control over.
For example, the general political climate of the United States of America.
Yeah. It's just the thing that's happening right now. And
maelstrom.
if you're not a Congress person, you're going to have a hard time doing anything about it. Or maybe if we have any Supreme Court justices listening to the podcast, you know, maybe you can do something.
Yeah, get on the bench.
Please do.
But average, you know, Joe Schmo is not going to be able to do anything about it. So just focus on the things that you can do something about. So if you're like, wow, it's really hard to bike up these hills, don't focus on the gravity. Focus on the fact that, hey, maybe you should switch gears on your bike.
Or just walk
you know,
it.
or just walk it.
It's easier to walk up hills than it is bike.
Or maybe
zigzag.
just try
gotta
to find
zag it.
maybe
Or
just find a
zag
way
it.
to only bike downhill just every time.
Downhill both directions. Make your life the opposite of your grandfather's.
Yeah.
Fourth dimension
Yeah.
type situation.
Maybe get yourself a motorcycle. Then you don't have to worry about gravity. Right.
Yeah.
So it's all about not focusing on the wrong problems. And if you think that something's a problem, it may just be the case that you're just you're looking into things that can't be solved.
So it's almost like the difference between a problem and a constraint.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because a constraint is not a problem. It's just a fact.
Right.
It's just a fact of your existence.
All right. So back to the question.
Yeah. Work-life balance. Is it a dumb lie?
I wouldn't say it's dumb. So,
Is it a lie though?
I think this thing is like, so the thing is you're living in a constructed state, right? As in the way we've thought. So Americans are notoriously insane for how much they work, right?
Maybe.
They are. Well, I mean,
Well,
according to the rest of the world.
According to the standards of the rest of the
Right.
world.
So,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm getting at. So in other words, we're already living inside of a construct in which working just a shitload and not taking vacations is essentially like the cultural norm, right?
Yeah.
I think how many unused, it's like $56 billion of unused vacation days every year or something like that. Because
Jeez.
Americans like don't take vacation because they're like, I gotta work.
We're going to give you the
Go on a cruise, people.
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
We're going to give you the vacation days, but if you use them, then we're going to think
We're
back.
gonna judge on you. Yeah.
So
You better keep your phone and emails available while you're on vacation.
yeah. So the thing is, so when it comes to this idea of it being, so I guess it is a lie in the sense that, or truth, however you want to talk, it's a story. I reframe it. It's a story. Work-life balance is a story that you can use to, I think, work within the construct of the current work environment that we have in the current work culture, which is one in which work generally is sort of the thing that tries to crush your soul out of you every single day. If that's the case, then yeah, the concept of having work-life balance becomes, frankly, imperative for you to have and to develop.
Because work is something that takes away from your life.
Yeah.
And then you got to spend the rest of your time sort of getting your soul back.
Yeah. And I think
Just like to break even.
yeah. And as much as we say in house that we don't like we don't play by that particular story set because the work environment here is good. I think we have a lot of fun in the
Yeah,
office.
pretty
We have
good.
We have the Miley hour, every day. So look
Feels
forward
like an
to.
hour.
There's a dog.
There's a dog. It's like the work environment's good. The people are all nice. Everyone's just like crushing their stuff. And so it's easy to just do stuff. Like it doesn't feel like, I guess that's the thing. It doesn't feel like labor to come into the office and sit down and just start banging out some work.
At the
It's
end
not
of the
hard.
day, you're tired for the right reasons.
Yeah, you're like,
Which is not that somebody was like being shitty to you and you're
Yeah.
just emotionally exhausted or whatever. Instead, it's just you just didn't leave anything on the table and you worked your ass off on solving
Right.
interesting problems.
and
all
so
day.
in this particular case, the concept of work or the necessity of having the work-life balance story to tell, I think becomes just generally a lot weaker because it's like you don't have the pressures in place that normally make that a thing that you need to sort of be thinking about and asking employers about, frankly, because they're going to be trying to like suck your entire life out for all the pennies they're giving you. Which means that naturally you have to be like, okay, how does work-life balance work in this office? Because I know you're going to try to crush me. So I need you to tell me structurally what you put in place to make it so that I can
So I can
exist.
leave. Yeah. I think a good way to think about this is just the idea that you only have so many hours, right, in a week or in a day or whatever. And if you don't attend to your general life needs, like paying your property taxes, making sure like you rake the leaves in the yard or that you do the dishes or, whatever it is, all those things just to kind of keep your home life in good working order so that you can relax and not have things stressing you out. It just takes a certain amount of time every week. And if you work so much that everything else around you just falls to shambles and maybe like you get evicted because you forgot to pay your rent in 3 months, even though you could have, but you just were working so much you forgot, then I think you're probably out of balance. I think that's probably a problem.
Yeah, I'm on board with that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, also like if you're not able to work effectively, I think that's basically the rule we have here, which is, if you need some time to just go decompress because we work like a lot and we work fiercely when we're here.
Yeah.
If you just need some time to go do something, then you just go do it.
Well, I think I guess in terms of balance, maybe it's just that like each aspect of your life, so like your work and your non-work time, should not cause the other to suffer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if something's going on in your home life that is just ruining you, then that's gonna cause your work to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
And if your work is garbage, either you're doing it way too much or what you are doing is just sucking the life out of you, then your home life is going to suffer, right?
I think so. The one thing I want to point out here is that from a psychological standpoint, there's this idea of stress carryover, which is essentially, I mean, everybody who's been in a relationship or who has friends knows this effect, which is, say like shit hits the fan at your buddy's work and they're just like, every day they're like, oh my God, this manager is killing me and I hate this project, whatever else. And every time you hang out with them, this is what you get, right?
They can't just leave it at work.
Yeah.
It's part of their
that's the
life.
thing is like
you know?
the idea that there is a hard boundary between these things is, I think, inaccurate. And in my opinion, personally makes it seem like either employers or you are off the hook in some regard for managing more effectively that time. Because the reality is there is no barrier between your work and your home. It's still, they're both parts in
of
your
life.
brain. Yeah. So if you have a shit, and everyone knows this, if you have a great day at work, you come home, you're like, fuck yeah. And you just like have a great time at home, unless something hits the fan. If you have a shitty time at home, the next time you go to work, you're like a little stressed out because you got shit going on. The idea that there is a hard boundary, I think is not helpful because frankly, I think it relaxes people's responsibilities to making work a thing for people to look forward to going to, and also for cleaning up their home life shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a bad lie in a good number of ways, frankly.
Well, it just the way that people tend to use it. But
yeah. You got to look at the consequences of choosing these various stories.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. So we got one final question. This question comes from Gafferman. Gafferman says, I'm hangry.
Oh, no.
Want to share a recipe for a quick yet delicious meal. So we got to be careful with this answer because he's hangry. He's not just hungry. So
be gentle in your tone.
So I think,
these are things that are lying around the house. Generally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Gafferman wants a quick and delicious meal, but also he's enraged. So how do we kind of hit both of those?
Okay. So we need to avoid glass implements. Sure.
Yeah. Keep away from glass.
Probably sharp knives too. If I had to.
So yeah, if you're hangry, you want to make something without a knife. You want to make something without glass. Okay. So this kind of leaves you get like a plastic spatula, maybe a wooden spoon.
What you got, Andy?
PB&J.
How you going to spread that?
With a spoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could even opt for the squeeze jelly.
Yep. Get yourself. So what you're going to need is a hanger
kit.
A hanger kit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, I'm hangry. I can't function in a normal kitchen environment.
Because maybe even start stabbing everyone.
Maybe even just set aside a closet in your kitchen. That's your hanger closet because you don't want anything sharp in there, anything breakable, right? Put soundproof panels on the wall so that you can scream while you make your sandwich. Right? You want bread. Bread is soft, right? It's soothing. It's nice, right? So you keep a couple loaves of bread in there. You keep a squeeze bottle of PB&J, some plastic spoons.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You don't want metal spoons,
and you don't want to have to do the dishes afterwards either, probably because you're still going to be coming down from the
paper towel.
Exactly.
Paper towel.
Yeah.
No evidence. I think though, if I had to spread peanut butter and jelly with a fucking plastic spoon, I would lose.
Plastic knife would be okay. Plastic knife would be okay.
That's fine.
Yeah. You want to get the sturdy ones.
You can't. It actually has like a dime-sized surface area to spread stuff with. If you're trying to spread with a spoon.
Yeah, and then also plastic spoons they just kind of like fold and snap. Yeah,
you don't want to get it in like 2 or 3 spreads because anything over 5 is just gonna set you off.
That's true.
Agreed.
Can be efficient. Get a plastic knife. Go into your hanger closet. Begin yelling.
Start screaming. And just spread that. Just spread that peanut butter on there.
The old scream and spread.
Yep. So you got that. You're going to want to make sure that you have get one of those little fountains, that kind of just has like a nice
water feature.
Yeah, water feature.
Get yourself a little jukebox
maybe
thing.
Some Enya.
Play some Enya in there. Okay.
So erasure maybe.
Erasure.
That's good too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's your hanger meal. Those are the ingredients you need, I think. Soundproof closet, plastic knife, bread, PB&J, paper towels. You want a trash can nearby because you don't want to have to walk somewhere to throw your plastic knife. You're hangry. You don't have time for this.
Probably get one with the foot pedal so you can stomp out some of that, right?
Yeah, get like some tactile feel going on.
Yeah. The thing about Hanger is you gotta remove the rough edges for the experience. You don't want to have to think about things.
Should the door be one of those like swinging?
It should be like
a saloon
It
door.
should be like a saloon.
You can just like just punch it in.
Yeah.
Start screaming and spreading.
Yep.
And then eat your sandwich. Here's the question though: how quickly does Hanger dissipate for you guys?
Almost immediately,
Really?
probably. Yeah. I mean, as soon as you get food in your mouth, you're like, it's good.
Yeah. First bite.
So it's not about having it in your belly. Is that correct? It's not about actually feeling full. It's about having access.
It's about
food.
access.
You're enraged.
So maybe you shouldn't have to make anything.
Just have like
Maybe
a can of
that's my
Pringles.
wonder. Yeah.
Maybe
Like a bandolier of Pringles.
yeah. You need Pringles. But with like when you buy the Pringles, pre-peel the top piece, right?
Yeah, you want to be.
Yeah,
You
get that
don't-
shit out of there.
Because that shit, you can't get it off. Like you got to get your fingernails under there. That's the worst hanger situation to be.
Yeah, it's been the case. Hanger Andy has ripped the little plastic cover off the top of the Pringles can and just Pringles just shot
And
everywhere.
now what? Now you're legit angry and still hangry.
And you have a
because-
mess.
And now you
And
got a mess to
sad
clean
too
up.
because Pringles are
Yeah.
gone.
And then you're trying to clean up the Pringles, but you're slipping in your own tears on the
So I
ground.
guess the point is, to back this up, you got to design an experience.
You got to understand the problem.
Yeah, which is that you need access to food. It's actually not about having good food.
Just
It's
food.
Definitely not about
You just
preparing
need
it.
food in your mouth.
Yeah. So stuff like probably beef jerky, like a granola bar.
Again, pre-opened.
Well,
Pre-open
you
it.
gotta rip
Put it into like a little jar, like a cookie jar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like a
I was
meat
thinking,
jar.
Good
Because
move.
sometimes you
Yeah.
go to like rip off the top of one of those beef jerky things and like just a little slip comes off and you can't grab
And
any
then you're
other
just
piece
like,
of it.
what
You're
the
like, so yeah,
But
you
again,
gotta
that's
make
why you
sure.
got the soundproof panels. But
But again, this is about be deliberate,
And
Design-
plan ahead.
plan ahead.
That's-
Pre-design your hanger experience to match your needs.
Wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning, plan your hanger.
Yeah.
Rip open your bags, while you're calm.
Here's an interesting question: why does anybody get hangry like when they wake up? Hanger seems to come normally,
It's in the evening.
in the
I don't.
evening, in the afternoon.
But I think it's
weird because like when you
I should have eaten. That's
Yeah.
almost what it is.
because like when you sleep, sleep, that's the longest
Yeah.
time you go without eating.
People
You
skip
go like
breakfast
10
all
hours.
the time, though. I feel like this is what I'm trying to get at. I think it's just like a psychological feeling of betrayal
By your body.
and the clock. Because it's like, I should have eaten.
What have you done?
Yeah. So is it even less about eating than it is about
It's the principle.
trusting
of
the
the thing.
system?
Yeah.
Hanger is just, it's a principle problem. Here's a question. Are there any other bodily functions that cause rage when you don't meet them immediately? Like
I
imagine
think
if
sleep.
Sleep.
Well,
yeah.
sleep for sure, but imagine if when you needed to pee, because I don't seen anybody
You just-
get angry when
Oh,
they're
I,
like,
I get angry.
when you need to pee.
Absolutely. Especially in a car.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I
No,
gotta
yeah.
st-
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah.
If
sort-
you have to pee and you're on like a bouncy car ride and you
But
don't
I
have the
get
access,
enraged. I don't know.
No, dude, it happens. This is that when you had the opportunity, like say you're going on a road trip, right?
Mhm.
And then you had the opportunity, like maybe before you leave the house, then you're like, should I pee? And you're like, no. And then your wife maybe asks you, hey Sam, you better pee before you go. And then you're like, nah. and your mom
Nah, I'm
is like,
good.
your friends are like, you sure you don't want to pee? Then you're like, nah, I'm good. And then when you get on the car, then you start to feel that in your stomach. Then you're just like,
and then you're. But it's also then the social pressure because you can't admit
Oh yeah.
that you can't say anything.
No.
You've already laid the foundation of lies that you didn't have to pee, but
But
you
so-
did.
Yeah,
Is it the
This
case?
is just a victim of circumstance thing. I'm saying we're just riding in the truck, and I'm like, "Hey guys, I got to pee," and they're like, "Sorry about it. We're just gonna wait till we get home." Wouldn't pull over. I'm sitting there just worming around in my seat, like, "I'm
Well,
about
so-
to pee in your truck if you don't pull over."
But so is this? But again, is this actually not rage against the biology, right? As we sort of just uncovered here, but more so the general
This is
social
the social
or
problems
societal
around
structural problems.
around pee access.
Right. It's always about
Yeah.
access because in that case, if they're like, yeah, sure, we can pull over. You wouldn't be angry up until the point you peed. It's a weird thing about hanger, right? Because with hanger, you're like, I missed out on eating 3 hours ago and I'm going to be enraged until I get food. And that's it.
Yeah.
But you did that thing.
But you did that.
You
but
did
if,
that to yourself.
But if you go to like pee and you're like, I just really need to pee really bad. And then there's access to a toilet. You're not enraged about peeing. At least I don't think I've ever I've never like peed angrily.
Well, okay, let me ask you this.
But I've eaten food.
Okay,
with
I
some
got a
rage.
hypothetical for you.
All right, what's up?
You're like, I got to pee so bad, I'm gonna die. Right?
Okay.
You start making your way toward the bathroom. Somebody bursts in front of you like, "Hey, Sam! I haven't seen you in 10 years. Let's have a long conversation about something." And then you're now locked in.
Mhm.
Are you enraged at this point?
But then yeah.
I would.
that's
that would
like a
frustrate me.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like a denial of access, right?
Exactly.
Right. You
Yeah.
had access and then your access is taken away.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But are there any other functions where it's like
So it all just comes down to access, right? Because
Yeah.
the
I think it's
hanger,
what it
the
is.
hanger is the same thing, right? You just like once you have the food in your mouth, you're like, cool.
you didn't eat it
I'm
in your
good.
mouth because like I don't know if you experience like if I'm super hungry and enraged and I go and get food.
You got a burger in your hand.
Yeah, when you have it in,
you're just like the world is right again.
Yeah.
Just everything melts away.
it's like a possession thing, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So build a nice hanger closet. Give yourself easy access to the meats,
Keep
the
some
vegetables,
hanger jerky or hanger bar in your purse.
Hanger summer sausage.
hanger
Maybe
sausage,
some Gouda.
hanger M&Ms. Just you're good to go. So that's been our hanger plan from Butterscotch Shenanigans. All right, so this has been Coffee with Butterscotch. Thank you for listening, and all the questions come from podcast.bscotch.net. If you would like to get onto future episodes, ask us a question. Yeah, it might be we'll answer it.
Try to answer for you.
Yeah.
And that's all. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.